Hey there, all. I missed you so much. We are back with the hotness, the sweetness, the pendulous. This episode's all about family. It's not just about how this group of people's only real predisposition to loving you is essentially boiled down to two people doing it. I mean, like, really going at it. Then having to hang out with, baby you. Because you don't have your own friends yet, so everybody just feels sorry for you. Inevitably, though, this forced familiarity will usually transform into a genuine feeling of caring and or affection. I mean, like baby Vera Clem's first month or two on this coil for mortals. I couldn't help but ponder quietly to myself, jeez, she's crying again, huh? What's this chick's deal? She should just get a job already. Little did I know that the nonsensical babbling and drool-dripping smiles that she would be filling my days with would be more than enough for me to willingly take all the bullets ever, just so that she would never know a sadness or feel an ounce of pain in her lifetime. You see, with most families, that aren't surnamed Kemper, unconditional love is a perk that can't be beat. Whether that means I'll pick up the bottle that's thrown defiantly to the floor for the third time, even after I told you the last time it was the last time, and if you did it again, you weren't getting it back, and... Oh, man. Damn it. VC. Okay, for real, this is the last time. That's what it means for Vera Clem and I. Or that you'll follow your brother on a warpath of vendetta to moiterize and mutilate as many gringos as time would allow. Like the Espinosas do. Family is a pretty great thing, isn't it?
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she's standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the word agree, there will be an answer, let it
Holy
be.
shit, Mother. Hi, I'm Jason. And that guy that's over there with the beautiful, beautiful, sexy, long blonde hair is Chris. And then the other one over there, the guy that's in the truck that's leering at you like he's a truck driver because he's in a truck, that's James.
Probably because you did something fucking stupid on the road because you weren't paying attention.
That and the last bathroom that he went to take a shower in, not a single guy there to hook up with. Man. Sometimes...
Speak for yourselves.
Sometimes the rocky road isn't just an ice cream flavor.
You think you're clever, don't you?
I was going to say something about hemorrhoids, but you said that you never got them. And I thought that was something that every trucker eventually goes through is having the feeling of sitting on rocks, which would have made my joke witty and non-needing an explanation.
Every trucker and pregnant woman.
Ooh. Oh,
But
yeah.
That's not.
Yeah,
Ooh,
actually, I think that might be true. Actually, you're listening to a nice, smooth-bottomed episode of See No, Hear No, Speak No.
Alright. Them UFOs, conspiracies, and smooth murders.
And I'm James.
I
I still haven't put any time or effort into an intro.
Hey, man, but you are nailing
Wow.
it. You are nailing it as far as timing goes. Like, perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect.
That sounded like a freshly post-pubescent Tickle Me Elmo.
Well, I was thinking I'd go like the opposite of you. You were going like deep with it, so I figured I'd go like high with it.
No, yeah. No,
a little yin yang, a little white and black. A little left and right, north and south.
Why you gotta make it about race, James?
No, I was just thinking the color's white and the color black.
Oh,
Bad cop, worst cop. I like it.
likely stories, all of you. You know the last time I made it about race is that time that I was in that race.
Just now. Oh.
That race war, which was
Oh.
it was demolition derby, but we called it that because we thought it was funny. So
Oh.
I lost to a Puerto Rican guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Email us at see no hear no speak no pod at gmail.com or
snhnspod@gmail.com, girl.
ooh, so smooth. It's like that Amish and Mennonite farm chocolate milk that I got from Whole Foods that tasted oh so much just like melted chocolate ice cream that I think I actually have a problem. I think I have actually been fiending for it. So I seize a trip to Whole Foods in the future. Man.
Did your therapist recommend a good support group for you?
Man, if I still had a therapist to recommend support groups for me.
She would be like, Jason, I think you have a problem. We need to wean you off of that chocolate cow titty juice.
Man, you can taste the beards.
You're squeezing food from your child's mouth
So rich and creamy.
to feed your
What?
It's so good. It's so good.
chocolatey addiction.
So,
Oh.
since
oh my God.
since everybody got a little taste, what we do here is that we give you a little taste and we get you hooked. And then after that, that's when it starts to costing. It costs nothing, though, as far as we're concerned now, because this is a podcast and we don't get paid for doing it. And hi, my name's Jason. We're jumping right back in to the story of Philippe Espinosa, which is really the story of the Bloody Espinosas, which is really the story of America when you think about it, Chris. Specifically when Chris thinks about it. Not you, James. Chris.
I try not to, though.
When James thinks about it, the story of America is Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA on repeat.
The mouse.
So, Philippe Espinosa was born in 1827. Of his physical appearance, very little is known aside from the reports that his, one of his trademark features was his mouth. Newspapers at the time described a quote-unquote jack-o'-lantern grin of oversized and gapped teeth, his canines pronounced and hanging lower than any other tooth.
Hang on, sluts. You guys do your thing. I'm going to turn off the truck real quick. Don't mind me.
Okay.
Now that I don't have the abominable snow mic to complain about being sweaty.
Well,
yeah,
you know,
give me a sec. Do your thing.
when you're that hot, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I'll be sure to tell him you think so.
I don't know what he even looks like. So, probably the most important thing about him, like we were saying last time, was that he was insanely goddamn like scary religious, and the movement, the exodus in the front direction of Baptist and Presbyterians into the now New Mexico in the mid 1800s just really freaked out a lot of the Hispanics that live there and their extreme faith in Catholicism. So the Espinosas,
Yeah, they're not hard to shake.
who's not hard to shake? Are we still talking about that chocolate milk from the Mennonites? Because, oof, man.
No. I was just thinking about, the Latinos and their extreme love for, whatever they call their religion. Whatever the fuck it is. In this case, it was Catholicism. When I was in Mexico, though, I stumbled upon an extended family member who's... I can't even, like, there's a word for it. Obviously there's a specific word for their this
Right.
particular Christian faith, but I don't know what it is, and it's the most ridiculous fucking thing I've ever heard, beyond the whole story in the first place being the most ridiculous fucking thing I've ever heard.
Please elaborate.
Right?
Please.
It goes to an extra level of like Mary being some kind of evil that's disguised as the mother of Christ or some kind of fucking crazy shit. But in some weird way, these people like follow what they consider the Christian faith, but still believe that Mary's evil somehow. It's fucking weird as shit.
So they still are all like, Christ is totally the king and he is our savior, but the lady that says she gave birth to him, fuck that
She's a
lady.
meanie.
She is straight up
She's evil some kind of way.
Well,
And so are aliens. Because that's how we got on that conversation.
aliens are evil? Or is she an alien?
Well, yeah. No, that's how we got on a conversation, is that we were talking about everything and it came to aliens, and that's where the conversation took this weird fucking left turn at how evil they are, and then the idea to believe in them is also swaying toward Mary's path or some fucking craziness like this. And like, my cousin was cool up until that point, and then I'm like, oh, you're a crazy bitch.
Because you're like, this person absolutely fucking actually believes this thing.
Yes.
That is...
It got sour real fast. Like, she was like notably upset with me for going, fucking what?
Yes, indeed. I love that, but just because sometimes you hear something that is so fucking crazy, you're like, you can't actually think these things, right? Like, you are a person that lives on Earth, right? Because this is just too much. It's too much.
Yeah, well, I respectably ended the evening, on a normal tone or whatever, and I remember walking back into the house, and now, mind you, I am the only blue-eyed, non-full Mexican in this whole town at this time, and so if anybody understood English, they knew what the fuck I was talking about.
Right.
It was probably something fucking crazy most of the time. Anyway, so I finished the night, walked back in and tell my mom. I just begin to start telling my mom this, and she's like, oh, fuck, you had that conversation?
Oh, Jesus.
Ooh.
See, that's some shit that your mom should have prepared you for. It's like, hey,
well,
just so you know, the family members that we're going to go see, not only do they think
Mary's evil.
that Mary is evil, she's also in cahoots with the aliens, who are also evil, because if you believe in aliens, you can't believe enough in Christ.
Well, you would think. I mean, she knows me as far as religion goes, and that's not usually something I talk to people about.
Yeah.
But when other people throw religion into whatever the fuck wacky conversation we were having, yeah, I can't let it go. I mean, how would that be funny, right?
Man, I mean, it's nuts enough that I'm kind of thinking about converting. But
all right. Sorry for derailing.
No, I helped that derailment, and I loved every second of it. So the Espinosas, as a family, were part of a religious organization called Los Hermanos Penitentes, which is the Penitent Brotherhood, which, like I said last time, was it's not even a secret society. It's just a society that was transplanted to New Mexico in the 16th century by conquistadors, basically. And in many ways, they are like a regional form of the Opus Dei, which, in this region, they were notorious for their means of, making their sins go bye-bye, which were self-flagellation. They would also stand on cacti, which, ouchies. They would place stones in their shoe, which doesn't sound so bad until you think about maybe then putting the shoes on and walking around in them. Because if you just had to,
Yeah, no, it's
if you just had to put rocks in your shoes and like leave them next to your bed at night, not so
like,
bad.
whatever.
Not so bad.
Wait, did you say self-flatulation? Like they make themselves fart?
No, I said self-flagellation, which is the where you whip
I
yourself
thought you
bloody.
said flatulation too.
I mean, who
He just walks around farting and puts shoes,
won't
rocks and shoes.
let loose a fart when you're whipping yourself bloody in the back? It's kind of hard to just keep them in. Like Vera's letting all kinds of mouth farts go right now that I really hope are being recorded because I love them.
Oh, they are.
No, you don't have to
They
leave.
certainly are.
I actually love them. There it is. There's my baby laugh. And then they would also bind themselves to wooden crosses, of course. So in the late 1800s, because of these, extreme practices, I guess you could call them extreme, even though there were no skateboards or BMX races to save any, little places where kids could go dance to Flock of Seagulls.
The BMX race was always my favorite.
Man,
If not the B-boy competition,
Man,
the
but-
BMX race was the
but
second
if it was
best.
the BMX race, Nicole Kidman was there because that was her first movie, and she might look like some kind of weird, like plaster cast of herself now that could just break. But back then, man, in the '80s, kicking some ass, loving it.
God, did you see her in the Aquaman movie? She totally looked like a friggin' plastic.
Well, yeah, because
person.
she is a plastic person.
I wanted to say doll, but I don't think that didn't look cuddly.
No, like if you touched it, it would break. I get it. So they banned it because the state government and pressers from the church, the church with a capital C, the one in Rome, was like, guys, cut it out. Just cut it out. Look, just cut it out. And so they did.
Your farting is giving the church a bad name. Your bloody farts.
Your farts give church a bad name. But even today, you can go visit some of the abandoned meeting places of the penitents. You can, go check them out because there are still there's still people that belong to the penitents that meet today with less extreme versions of what they did, apparently. But
That doesn't surprise me.
in the mid-19th century, Felipe Espinosa was a devout member of this very organization, and later on, when he became a wanted man, it's believed that they even helped him out to stay ahead of the law and, give him shelter and food and such. So, it's a yay religion kind of thing. So the family themselves originated from El Rito, New Mexico, which is about 40 miles.
Somebody.
Uh-huh.
I apologize.
No, go. Yes.
Some little miniature nugget of a human is going through it back there.
Oh yeah,
she
no.
is cutting it the fuck up, dude.
Oh yeah, she's having a grand old time because she knows she should be asleep.
She's cracking me up.
But she's like, Daddy, Daddy, I see you with that big bright screen in your
you're
face.
recording.
I see that you have that
Yeah.
that giant black lollipop-looking deal that you're yelling into. I want to do some yelling too, and I like it. She's the best
That is
guest
funny.
we've ever had on this show. Sorry, Jerome T. Abbott.
That's right.
Okay, so real
Okay,
question
sorry,
here, fellas.
continue.
Melissa's asking me if she should take her out. Is it becoming distracting?
No, it's not
Okay.
bothering me at all. I just wanted
no.
to make mention that
Okay.
it's cracking me the fuck
Yeah,
up.
it's cute as hell. It really is. It's making
adorable.
It's making what I know we're about to get into so much better. So the place that they lived was about 40 miles. Oh yeah, 40 miles west of Taos, which I don't even know why I added that part in because I don't know where Taos is, much less El Rito, much less New Mexico. If I'm being frank and honest,
Taos?
Mhm.
Been there.
done that. In In 1848, when the Mexican-American War ended, there was, everybody was freaked out because what's going to happen to the people that were Mexicans, like the Espinosas, who were now living.
Maybe.
Yeah.
They could try that, yeah.
They're now Americans, basically. But, well, not, because they're just living in what is now
No, they're
America.
not. These are just words that the white man uses. They don't mean anything other than, if you give me your money, then I won't kill you.
Mm-hmm, exactly. In an article in the Treaty of Guadalupe, it stated that all Mexicans that were living in the new American territory would keep their land, and not only that, but they would also be allowed to remain a citizen of Mexico,
And alive.
or they could become
How gracious of them.
they could become American citizens if they wanted. You know?
Oh, wow.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good deal, actually. I mean, it would have been a better deal.
So you're going to take my native food and bastardize it
Hey, man.
and serve it in places that stay open till 4 a.m. to
Okay.
drunken teenagers?
Okay, listen to me right now. We can.
Oh, yeah.
You will not bring up Taco Bell even without saying the word Taco Bell, because I went to Taco Bell today to order what I have ordered from Taco Bell for the last 10 years, which is the grilled stuffed steak burrito. I pull up to the speaker. I say, I would like one grilled stuffed steak burrito, please. And the lady on the other end said, we don't serve that anymore.
Oh no.
So don't you
Oh no.
don't you bring up Mexican food.
Taco Bell was my first job ever.
Yeah?
Right there in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Right
it was.
there off. Yep, right there off Jefferson Highway by the hospital.
Yep.
In the middle of fucking shit ass area.
Shit ass
And,
area. Yep.
I have made them. I've assisted in making them plenty of money. Hopefully, this plug will get us a sponsorship
Oh man, if Taco Bell sponsored us and brought back the fucking grilled stuffed steak burrito,
and a grilled stuffed steak burrito. God damn it!
Hell yeah.
man,
Oh yeah.
that'd be the best. I could dig it. I can dig it. But just like the hopes and dreams of the return of the grilled stuffed steak burrito, the
Pepsi's against my religion, but if they want to give me money, I'll take it.
the article that was in this Treaty of Guadalupe would not be honored by America, as is the right of the white man, I suppose. This is so fucking stupid.
What? You're lying. This is
I am
not
not-
the way history went down for the white man. I
so-
refuse to believe.
So,
The honor and integrity is besmirched here.
man, if I could just tell all people back in the past, if you see a white guy, you either should kill him immediately or run as fast as you can and never look back.
Whoa.
Because that white man does not have good news for you.
He does not have good news for you.
He is not bringing tidings of faith and love. He might say that
No.
until he gives you plague blankets and steals your women for women stealing purposes. Oh, white people are terrible.
Oh yeah.
And only after he determines he likes you will he allow you to convert to his religion or kill you.
Well, usually,
Oh, yeah.
even if he doesn't like you, he'll be like, you should try my religion out. Because if not, then heathens and death. And we'll talk about the whole liking situation afterwards. So the tension in this territory, which was now the New Mexico, was heightened quite a bit more when in 1861 the Colorado Territory was created, and the southern border of Colorado then cut a lot of the original Mexican Hispanics off from the certain New Mexican conventions that they had been
Mortal coil.
that they had been cool with for a long time. For instance, when white dudes began visiting the region to issue new laws and taxes, they failed to consider the fact that these Mexicans probably didn't speak or read English, which is the only language that their documents that they handed them were written in.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bad forethought.
So,
Yeah.
people are getting mad, and people are worried that now these new arriving military forces and such would start drafting their young men into their armies because that's what they had kind of been told was going to happen. So with Colorado only being a year old, like, people are already up in arms, basically. Well, we'll say figuratively, because the armies and stuff. We can't forget about the armies. So, between the years 1862 and 1863, cough. That's right, Chris. That was very, very poignant, and I'm glad that you added it in.
It wasn't directly into the microphone, though.
I almost forgot the cough.
So it's right here in the script.
He was poor, and he was living inside a little cramped, little kind of mud hut with his family outside the village of San Rafael, which is near present-day Antonio, Colorado, which, once again,
Gross.
no idea. Chris might know. So Philippe took to banditry, which is not, as I thought, making Band-Aids. But Melissa corrected me and said, no, that's like he became a bandit. And I was like, oh. Exactly. Thank you, Vera, for... Yeah, I'm going to move on.
Joined a gang and got thugged out.
No, he didn't join a gang, actually. Joining him was his younger brother, Vivian, which is, I think, kind of a badass name for a dude. Right? Like, if your name's Vivian...
I was about to say it's a girl's name. That's the name from the Anne on Fresh Prince.
I mean...
Aunt Viv.
So Vivian is
Wow.
technically now a very feminine name. But, that's just like one of the manliest men ever. Stacy Keach is named Stacy.
Can I just make mention of how timely a reference that was for Baby James? Well done, sir. Well
What,
done.
Fresh Prince? That's still a very well-known show.
You're a very well-known show.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead.
Thanks.
I'm gonna go ahead and give Chris the point for that burn. That was a good comeback.
That's right.
Very well known show. You son of a
Yeah.
bitch.
Recognize who you're dealing with.
So
I was trying to give you a compliment.
yeah. And you just shat all over it, man. And that's not how you make friends on this show. You make friends on this show by being vaguely racist to Chris
And showing your butthole.
and showing your butthole.
Yeah.
But that's a route that no one has decided to take yet.
So I think I can call myself a friend of Chris.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I've met the requirements.
I mean, I don't know if Chris would feel the same. I think he's.
I was going to say, is everybody making up Chris's mind for him? Is that what's going on right now?
I
Wow.
think.
Wow, okay, if it's going to be like that then.
I think that's in the contract that Chris
All right,
signed.
we'll see you guys later.
So one day, the two brothers they stopped a freight wagon that was on its way from Santa Fe to Galisto. The wagon just had one passenger / driver, which was a Mexican man. And this Mexican man, as would have it, was actually once neighbors with the brothers. So while they were, going through and looting the wagon, they decided to have a little laugh afterwards, and they tied the driver under the tongue of the wagon so that his face was just inches from the ground. And then
That is a good little laugh.
And then while laughing, as just jovial, just pranksters will, they whipped the shit out of the horses so that they bolted off into the distance. The man was pulled for miles and miles. His head just hitting every single little tiny bump in the Earth's crust that it went past. And by the time that the wagon was seen and stopped, the driver was basically he was almost dead, and his face was a bloody pulp. He did, however, manage to live, and he would eventually describe the dudes that did it. You know, so with this description,
Wow.
A charge to capture these two banditos fell to the only military and law enforcement center in the area, really, which is the newly constructed Fort Garland. There, a Lieutenant Hutt took charge of trying to find Han Solo and getting his goddamn money.
I was about to say.
Getting his goddamn money.
Man. He said he was going to pay him, and he didn't. And now we think that Han Solo's the hero. Fuck that. He's a... man, just...
Fucking scam artist.
Just talk to the Hutts, man. They seem like okay people. You don't get to be so giant and slug-like and have just golden bikinied bitches for days without being kind of a cool dude, you know?
Heard that.
Stands to reason. I agree.
So this Lieutenant Hutt was in charge of this pursuit, and he was assisted by a U.S. Marshal named Austin. So they conducted a bunch of interrogations in the area, and officials collected the identities, basically, of the Espinosas and where they were staying. So Hutt and Austin determined it unwise to just walk up and be like, hey, you're under arrest. So they thought about it for a bit, and they hatched a plan. After 9 months of sitting
They
on
realized they
Plan
liked
A.
their faces too much.
So Lieutenant Hutt, with a couple other soldiers, would approach the farmhouse under the guise of recruiting volunteers for the army. So they were going to walk up and be like, hey guys, how would you like to be in this man's army? And it was actually something that happened quite a bit, because there was a shortage of soldiers out there, because there really weren't a whole lot of people in those territories at the time. So that, coupled with escalating fights with frontier Indians, meant that it was a commonplace thing for recruiters to go out in the countryside and seek new volunteers. So the goal here was really to separate the brothers that they needed from the rest of their family that were staying there, and have them, outside and unable to get help from them while they arrested them. And while Lieutenant Hutt was there to do that, Austin was on an overlooking hill, and he was, keeping a close eye on everything in case, shit went wrong. So as Hutt approached the house, Vivian stepped out the door to greet him. He was unarmed. He was unsuspecting by everyone's remembrance of this, and he was, fine with talking to Lieutenant Hutt. So when Hutt described to Vivian his offer, Vivian at first seemed like he was kind of interested in doing it. He asked how much it would pay, where they'd be stationed, how long he would have to serve, and Lieutenant Hutt just calmly answered him. Everything seemed great, and Vivian seemed optimistic about the idea. And then he was like, nah. And then he turned to walk away. So Lieutenant Hutt, being just, you kids, he's like, fuck this shit, man, and grabbed him by the arm and declared him under arrest. So, in making this what I'm going to call a mistake, like, you go back to the drawing board and you try something else. You don't just be like, well, you know what, kid, you're under arrest. Because he's still got, at least one murderous brother inside the house, along with who knows how many family members willing to do whatever family members are willing to do. So, there was a gunshot. And
Could get sticky.
Uh-oh.
After this gunshot, there was a broken front window to the house. And then after that, there was a certain Lieutenant Hutt shot through the chest. And Then
Oh no.
then a collapsed on the floor, Lieutenant Hutt.
My gracious.
I know, right? But instantly, basically, there was gunfire from everywhere. Philippe sent his younger brother to receive the rest of their family, all while, having his rifle hanging out the window, getting ready to shoot little white dudes running by. And Austin and whoever was left was just shooting this house, which is built with mud, basically, just peppering it with bullets. And old-timey bullets are garbage anyway, but if you're shooting even like a foot thick of mud, it's not really going to do a whole lot. So while this is happening, Philippe and Vivian were crawling along the floor. They'd pick up their heads every once in a while to shoot through the windows as the rest of their family kind of, brought them ammo and shit to do this. So Austin and the remaining soldiers surrounded the house, but the brothers made a break through the back door, and in doing this, just came out shooting, and a corporal was struck and instantly killed, and Austin leapt atop his horse and tried to take chase, but before he could catch up, the horse misstepped and tumbled, crushing Austin beneath the horse.
Oof.
And leaving him with injuries
Nice.
that he would never fully recover from.
Oof.
So it was just
Because it's a fucking horse.
man, and I just hear like the Benny Hill chase music the whole way. Oh my God, that is two references that I didn't expect you to know tonight. That I am,
He's
God
doing
bless you,
good.
sir. God bless you. So the Espinosas
He's on fire.
had escaped, vanished inside the
Needs
forest
some antibiotics.
of the Sangre de Cristos.
The what?
The what?
Oh, the Sangre
The what?
de Cristos. The forests of Sangre de Cristos.
Oh, blood of Christ.
Yes, the blood of Christ. I didn't know that's what sangre
Resident Spanish
meant.
translator.
Man.
Sangre, yes.
So what does that mean in Latin, James?
Oh, the blood of Christ.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Jesus juice.
What do you know? So, the two brothers, Vera is just all about this story. I love it. The two
We
brothers...
have here as a actual guest star some episode, man. I'm excited what she has to
Dude,
say.
as soon as she can actually talk, she is going to be a permanent staple on this show. We all know this. So the two brothers...
No, I want to hear her blah, 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 blah.
Well, then you should come visit more often then, James.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it got real, didn't it?
You live in the same city.
No, you're right. You're right. There's no excuse.
The two brothers ran into the Rockies of central Colorado, and they would steal. They would end up stealing two horses along the way to do it. It was during this time that there was what became to be a popular myth that Philippe received a dream in which he was visited by the Virgin Mary, and she's like, "Fuck you, I'm evil and aliens, yeah, man." Totally, that didn't happen.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he was visited by the Virgin Mary. She was sent directly by God to go talk to Philippe, to bestow upon him a duty to kill white people.
That nasty
Heard that.
bitch.
Man,
That is unsanitary.
it's good stuff. Is what I'm gonna take out of it. But divine or not, Philippe now had a vendetta, which, a private war even. Like, he was like, man, I am gonna fuck some shit up. So,
Did he have a cool mask?
did he have a cool mask?
Yeah.
He did wear a sleep mask, but that was mostly to sleep, because he just had problems, with the stars were a lot brighter back then. The universe was a whole lot younger, and the stars were closer together, so you kind of needed something to block it out. But
It's really keeping you up at night.
yeah, so So he did, in fact, have a cool mask. It was one of the kinds that the ladies wear that you could put in the freezer first, and it's like a cold mask on the face. I hope that answers your question.
Right now?
I hope that answers your question. He so they fled southern Colorado, where they were pretty well known and also wanted by the law, and they brought their quote unquote crusade to a rocky canyon filled country outside Canyon City, of all places, Colorado. Who would have guessed, right? So,
Seriously.
prior to 1863, locals in the area knew it as Sawmill Gulch. Today, though, the signs along the road read Dead Man's Gulch. I will give James exactly one guess as to why.
So I'm guessing that it had a reputation of death in the area, specifically in the Gulch.
You, sir, have been listening, and that makes me feel good. Thank you. It was late in the evening when a man named Jim Hawkins, who was known affectionately by those in the area as Uncle Jim, Uncle Jim was found murdered in his cabin.
Aw, Uncle Jim.
He had just recently moved to the area, and all that day he had been at work building a sawmill with 3 other men. This was Sawmill Gulch, after all, and if you moved there, it was, I'm pretty sure, part of the city charter that you had to build a sawmill. So around supper time, I actually call supper time dinner time, because I don't like the word supper. It just...
Yeah, it's a weird
Agreed.
word. I was never into that.
It rubs me the wrong way. So the men decided to take a break, and Harkins was going to go to his cabin and make dinner for everybody. So they break off, and he goes to do that. But when the 3 other men arrived at the old man's cabin later on, he was already dead. The Sunday Gazette would later describe the murder scene, and this... just knowing that this was in a newspaper, it's goddamn. Okay, so Hawkins had been shot in the middle of the forehead with a Colt Navy revolver. Then the murderers had taken the axe and split his head open from the top to the mouth, and then, judging from the appearance of his head and the axe, they hit him on each side of the head with the head of the axe, and 2 pieces of his skull and brains laid on the ground atop his head. He was also stabbed twice in the left breast.
Breast.
Yeah, I did say breast, didn't I?
Well, that's a bit much.
That was a good. That was good though. I like the little 1940s radio broadcast you're doing, 20s, whatever.
You haven't, yeah. He hasn't shown up on the show in quite some time, actually. That's probably James's first time hearing that character. So
It's good
I'm
to
glad
meet
you
him.
guys got to meet. So at first, everyone had suspected it was Indians, because that's kind of, I mean, that's not specifically what the Indians were into doing to people, but they were super into killing white people, and they did it usually in some pretty bizarre, if not just bizarre to the white people ways. But the next morning, while they conducted a sweep of the area, the sheriff then came upon another body. It's just a couple of miles from Jim Harkins' cabin. The body of William Bruce was found lying outside his ranch home, hacked to pieces also, except this time inserted into a bullet hole in his forehead was a small crucifix made of sticks. So just in
Yay.
case I have to say this part again, because it's fun to say. While conducting a sweep of the area, the sheriff came upon a second dead body, that was just a couple of miles away from Jim Hawkins' cabin. It was the body of William Bruce, who was found lying outside his ranch home. He was also hacked to pieces, except for this time, it's put into a bullet hole, and in his forehead was a crucifix made of sticks. Because what would Jesus do? Is what the men that did that their bracelets said that. Oh man. So having killed a couple people now, Philippe and Vivian basically were like, yeah, this is Mary said this was cool, right? So we're gonna just keep doing that.
See,
so they
told you
stalked
she was evil.
the Rockies, basically. Oh man, is she ever evil? I was so glad when you were saying that earlier because it fits. So they made their way north basically, and they would just kind of kill at random. They would find isolated, unguarded communities. They would find lone victims that were far away from any kind of help, in places where sounds like gunshots and screams just would not be heard, because there weren't nobody there to hear them.
Weren't nobody.
Man. So this is a wonderful development in this story, given their criteria of people. It was their basic paradise for doing this was the sparsely populated mining settlement of South Park, Colorado.
Uh-huh.
Hey,
Yeah, come on down to South Park and meet some
have yourself a time.
cold-blooded killers, man. Let's do it. Huh.
Some friends of mine.
Here in South Park, the brothers would just go around like small mining camps, basically, where men tended to work like by themselves and like in these high in the mountains. You if you had a mining claim that you were trying to get rich off of, I wouldn't be like, hey, Chris James, let's go hang out at my fucking mine, and so you guys can get rich off of the thing that I paid to have,
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go do that alone, and you guys can go suck it. But in a few days, when I don't come back, come and pick up my mutilated, cross-covered body, if in Yantya.
That always made me chuckle.
So I know it's a good thing. So the Espinosas would creep up on their targets and watch them sometimes for hours and hours. There were two businessmen out of Denver named at Sega, no bullshit Sega, but it's Seyga, and Lehman. They were found dead outside the popular Kenosha House, which is like a hangout kind of.
Fucking Kenosha.
And some people believe that the killers sat there and waited in the dark for just somebody to wander too far from the hotel, and then with long-range rifles, and then they were no more. But
blah, blah.
after the death. After they came down with a case of the death, the Espinosas would then go to work on the corpses. Bodies of well-known residents would be eventually found hacked up and mutilated to a point that often was beyond recognition. They would be disemboweled, decapitated, their hearts sometimes cut out, crosses slashed into their chests, stakes sometimes driven through their chests and into the earth.
Wow.
Oh, please, I can only get so hard.
You know what? I don't think that's true, James. I don't think your level of excitement has reached its peak.
You know how much thrusting force that takes?
Prove me wrong.
Or that would take?
Man, like a bunch. Like, to go through somebody's
certainly
all the way through.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, just no. What you were probably about to say, to push a wooden stake through someone's chest, out their back, and into the ground, would certainly be a feat of strength. That's
far
man.
more than any normal
Goddamn.
human could do in one stabbing motion. I guarantee that.
Oh no, you gotta like lean on it and like kind of hop up and
Right.
down to get it through some
You're
of
probably
it.
pounding on
And,
that shit.
Man,
That's crazy.
so newspapers at the time, before people knew who it was for sure, were calling the murderer of these victims the Axeman of Colorado, which doing this show has taught me one thing for sure, and that is old-timey newspapers not good at making up fucking serial killer names, because every single state and or city had an Axeman. But you know, Dems the breaks. That's how that cookie crumbles, is under the body of the man that was decapitated with an axe.
Somebody's making shitty cookies. That's what that sounds like.
I mean, what if they're like the kind of cookies that have like crumbles stuff on it? Like, what if that's what's fallen off? What if the rest of the cookie completely perfectly still intact and delicious? Chris, don't you feel like an asshole now? You fucking asshole.
I sure would.
No.
Yeah.
No, not so much. It's a shitty
So-
cookie. Your grandma sucks.
So paranoia rippled across the territory. Everyone was a suspect. Even you, Chris. Even you, James. Even me, Jason.
Dun dun dun.
So, in these situations, right? Usually, you didn't want to be the new guy strolling into town the day after they found a body like this, because guess who's being blamed for this?
Seriously.
Now? There was one time that a prospector by the name of Foster, he had just arrived in the town of Alma in hopes of finding a mine to work. The town immediately was like, well, that's our killer. Duh. So they caught him and dragged him to a tree for a hanging. And seconds before he got his hanging, South Park's famed minister, John Dyer. I mean, we've all heard about him, right? He is South Park's famous minister, John Dyer. So
Of course.
no more explanation
Mr. D.
needed.
Friend of the family and
Well,
stuff.
he calmed everybody the fuck down. He was like, everybody, really? Like, this guy, he just got here, and, like, sure, he's probably the guy that killed all those people. I'm not going to say he's not, but let's go ahead and let him down, because, it's lunchtime, everybody, right? It's lunchtime, and it's on Paul today to buy lunch. Paul, you remember what you agreed to, and then the guy, they let him go, basically. So that's good, right? I mean, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Worked out well for him.
So and then everybody got lunch out of Paul, and then Paul actually, though, he died destitute and penniless because of that lunch.
Fucking
So
Paul.
technically, this prospector named Foster did kill a man.
Sounds to me
And it was
like Paul
Paul.
needed a new job.
Sounds to me like people should fucking know that they shouldn't order the steak when someone else is paying. You get a hamburger and you fucking smile about it.
Right? You fucking degenerate. God damn it. Anyway,
Oh, man.
fucking Paul.
So by this time, Colorado's Governor John Evans had increased the bounty on the heads of the Espinosas, as well as he also appointed a detachment of 1st Colorado Infantry to comb the region. And they ain't found shit. They had giant combs, and one of them had a hair pick. So leading this 1st Colorado Infantry detachment was a Colonel John Chivington, Chivington. Chivington? You decide.
Whatever floats your monkey and spanks your boat, I always say.
Yes. Okay, win. This is great. I love it. All this is happening on the day that I get my new computer.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying what?
I like that for once everybody's paying attention enough to be on that shit.
All right.
Indeed, to be like it just happened.
I'm going. I'm
Okay, good.
Again.
Okay.
Let's do this.
So Colonel John Shivington, a man who 2 years later would end up becoming infamous for his part in the Sand Creek Massacre. I didn't bother to look up what that was because the research for this was a lot and took me a while. And then, oh man, so it was eventually a lumberman named Matthew Metcalf who became their first, targeted victim that would get away. Metcalf was driving a team of horses through South Park's California Gulch, and he was carrying lumber or whatever. And around a turn, the Espinosas were there. They didn't say a word. They pulled out their guns and started firing. A bullet smashed into Metcalf's left breast, which, man,
Breast.
was it. That's a word for boobies, James. And sent him flying backwards
Boobies.
onto the lumber that was in his wagon. So since he's dead and out of it or whatever, the horses are like, rah! And then they just fucking ran down the path. And the Espinosas just stepped aside and let the wagon run away. Later in his diary, Philippe would merely write, and I quote, "Killed a man in a wagon."
Alright. Good for you, bud.
Dear diary. Except he actually hadn't, because Metcalf says that he had just stuffed a condensed booklet of Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation into his front pocket.
What?
And the papers slowed down the bullet and that him that saved him.
I wonder if that's where that comes from.
The Emancipation Proclamation? No, that's the whole thing.
No, the whole thing about fucking something just just happens to be in your, in your front jacket pocket that's, can stop the bullet. And in the movies over the years, it's been many different items,
A Bible, a cross,
the cigarette tin with gum in
A
it.
badge.
a giant dildo. Yes.
Ooh, James, do you know that reference though? The cigarette tin with the gum in it.
Oh, I thought you were about to ask me if I know what dildos are. No, I don't get that one. I got your last one though. I forgot what reference you had made. Spaceballs,
Oh,
Comb in the Desert.
Right,
yes.
right.
Yes. Oh, I would
I
be.
got that
I
one
would
down.
be. I would be ashamed of you if you didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
That's
of
why we
course.
didn't. That's why we didn't reference the reference.
But no, I don't.
So
get
now-
that. What's that cigarette thing from?
Oh, go ahead.
An old Michael Keaton flick called Johnny Dangerously. It's hilarious. It's classic shit.
is very
yeah.
It's like
I'll watch it.
Chinatown. It's like Chinatown meets Robin Hood Men in Tights meets Johnny Dangerously.
Yeah, but like 20s
All right, yeah, I'll check that out.
gangster setting, and yeah, it's funny as shit. It's good.
It's good stuff.
I'm a pirate
and
that real quick.
Nice.
and just like
your last name's
just
an adverb,
like-
huh? Sorry, continue.
pre-Batman Michael Keaton,
Slutty?
Metcalf is like, hey, I know, I can tell you what the guys that shot me in the chest look like. So
Mexicans.
the Axeman of Colorado now had a face, because before there was just blackness, no face. It was
Nobody likes that.
So wait, they assumed he was a
No,
black dude at
nobody.
first? And now they know he's just a
no.
brown guy?
I'm saying, I mean,
was a long time ago, Chris. You know.
So
Let's,
yeah, they probably did that.
Let's not.
Oh, that's not funny.
Let's not trudge up old feelings of some things that none of us had a hand in to begin with. Maybe one or two of us have dipped our toe in, but our hands have stayed dry.
Oh, the water's fine. The water's just fine.
So, page number 4 of my 5 pages of notes starts with: a posse was formed in Fairplay under John McCannon. John McCannon. What a man. That's a man's name, is John McCannon.
John
What
McCannon,
a
the
McCannon.
man.
Man, I want some manwich now.
I want some man right now.
Last time you had a real good manwich sloppy Joe, man.
Years, actually.
Yeah,
Childhood.
So,
Well, you know what? I'm having a cookout tomorrow, and you're both invited, but we're not going to eat manwich. So.
Yeah, then I got a thing going on.
Oh, well, is there going to be manwich there? Because I might just say, fuck this thing that I'm doing.
No, but if there's manwich at your thing, then my thing might clear up.
I'll settle.
Who knows? Who knows? It's all up in the air right now. Your people talk to my people. We'll get figured. Bang out the details.
If no manwich,
Okay.
I will settle for stovetop stuffing.
Man, indeed,
What?
but like stovetop stuffing.
Oh,
This is a thing they still sell. Okay. So the ground in the area was it had snow melt basically. So it wasn't long before the group that was chasing them found a fresh trail of hoof prints because the ground was all like soft and muddy and shit. So following this path, the men under John McCannon came upon an equally fresh victim, a man butchered beyond all recognition except to that of his brother, who was also a member of McCannon's posse at the moment. So they found a fucking body that was torn to ribbons, and the one person that could be like, oh, I know that guy, was there, and that guy was his fucking dead brother.
Damn.
That's gotta fucking suck. McCannon later recounted that the sight sent the man into incapacitating fits, and that he was quickly escorted back to town.
Probably.
The others in this posse wasted no time in following this trail. They rode all day, all night, and there were men that couldn't take any more, horses that fucking were exhausted. That so less and less basically are making the end of this fucking journey to find these men. And it was just after daybreak when the group came over a ridge and they saw 2 horses tethered in a grassy meadow below. And the owners of the horses weren't exactly there in sight, but they saw campfire smoke. And the posse knew that either the killers were asleep or resting, or this was a trap for would-be followers. So McCannon split the group up into 2, and he and 3 others would sneak down the forested slope to the north and hunker below the site. The other 4 were to slip into some bushes below. So they all moved into position, drew their guns, and finally from a thicket emerged a dark-skinned and burly figure. He appeared to suspect and or know nothing as he went along his work untying the horse and whistling. Then a soldier named Joe Lamb couldn't stand it. He drew his gun and he fired a shot directly into the chest of Vivian Espinosa.
Uncle Viv,
And-
no.
Yeah. The man let out a cry, and he pulled out his pistol and just started firing wildly. So then a man named Sanger blasted a shotgun in that direction, which he killed the horse. He may have been a little too riled up. It's like running
Not the
into.
horse.
It's like you're a cop and you're kicking open a door and like there's just like a 5-year-old kid there with his juice bottle and like you just bought him with the end of your gun so hard and you're like, woo! What's next? And then later you're like, holy shit, did I hit that kid in the face with my gun?
I hit that kid.
Oh, sorry.
Just blinded by the adrenaline.
Happens.
Man. So, so Sanger just shotgunned a horse. And but finally a man named Fred Carter shot Vivian through the head and killed him. I mean you can't say killed him instantly because he had already been shot in the chest. So I mean killed him pretty quickly after the chest
Pretty
shot.
quickly.
Pretty
In
quick.
a timely fashion.
So in all this commotion, finally a second figure ran out from the thicket of trees, and McCannon shouted when he sees this, "For God's sake, don't shoot! That's Billy Young." Because the man that had run out was wearing an expensive-looking suit that is actually bought from the same place that the man he's talking about, Billy Young, who was one of the soldiers, where he buys his suits. But it was actually a suit that Philippe had taken from a victim who happened to shop at the same stores. So, and it also it pretty much looked like the suit that Young was wearing as they went to go catch these banditos. I don't know why he was wearing an expensive suit on a manhunt, but I'm not the dude's mom nor his father, and he can wear whatever expensive silks and fineries he wants into the American Wild Wild West. However, when the man finally lifted his face from his dead brother to reveal his dark features and black, bushy beard, it was already too late, and McCannon, the other men, before they could take aim at Philippe Espinosa, he had already disappeared into the thicket once more.
Ooh.
So, it's growing dark, and the posse just gave up and returned to where they had shot Vivian. And as they gathered around the body, they hear a gunshot ring out, and a bullet then hit a tree just inches away from Joe Lamb's head. So they look up at the ridge above them, and they see a little thin line of fucking gun smoke rising up. And with seeing that, Philippe was gone. So on Vivian's body, however, they found a bunch of the victims that they had killed belongings. They found a bunch of gold, and in the dead horse's saddlebag, they found Philippe's diary. It says here that the pages were a descent into madness. Descriptions of murders and mutilations, incoherent and politically charged diatribes, transcribed and perhaps imagined conversations with family members, unsent letters, and underlying it all, a divine righteousness. One passage included an early draft of a letter that Philippe, following Vivian's death, would mail to a Governor Evans. According to the Weekly Commonwealth, the letter read in part. I'm not going to do a Mexican accent. Okay.
I was so waiting for it.
So, man, I did it when I first read this with Melissa, and she's like, "You're not going to do that on the show, are you?" So, the Anglos ruined our families. They took everything in our house. First our beds and blankets, then our provisions. Seeing this, we said we would rather be dead than see such infamies committed in our families. These were the reasons we had to go out and kill Americans. Revenge for the infamies committed on our families. But we have repented of killing. Pardon us for what we have done and give us our liberty so that no other officer will have anything to do with us. For also in killing, one gains his liberty. I am aware that you know of some I have killed, but of others you don't know. It's a sufficient number, however. Ask in New Mexico if any other 2 men have killed as many as the Espinosas. We have killed 32.
Jeez Louise.
So we have
Jesus Christ.
just we're on the last page of this episode, and boy, it's been a doozy so far. So let's all scoot a little closer to the television, even though our mom has told us that we shouldn't sit so close because we would ruin our eyes. And oh my God, I can't see anymore. Wait, she was right. Oh my God, wait, my palms are all hairy too. What
Of
happened?
course she was right. She's always right.
Man, I do wear glasses now, and I didn't when I was a child. I think there's a correlation.
Mm-hmm.
It was a quiet summer, really, after they had killed Vivian, and as quietly as he showed up, Philippe had then disappeared. Some thought that he might have retreated to Old Mexico, which was Mexico. Others thought that he maybe had hunkered down with family members or sympathizers, and many reports actually had him at some point returning to where Vivian had been shot, and then carrying a severed arm to be buried. But
Okay.
by October 8th, 1863, Philippe had resumed his crusade, and he needed an accomplice, and you can't call yourselves the Bloody Espinosas without another Espinosa. So he recruits his 14-year-old nephew, Jose Espinosa.
Oh wow.
So the two men, I'm going to call them men because this 14-year-old did some terrible things with this man. The two were thought to be drunk that day, passing a bottle back and forth as they waited to ambush anything that came across them in this box canyon in what would become La Vita Pass in southern Colorado. So a wagon approaches, one that is carrying a Mexican woman named Dolores Sanchez and her companion, a white man who was only known to history now as Philbrook. The Espinosas attacked, and Dolores and Philbrook scattered in opposite directions. So both Philippe and Jose took after the white guy, of course. But they didn't want to get off of their horses to chase him, and they lost him as he goes down like this steep, rocky mountainside.
They were.
So they turn around to go find the woman. So Dolores, she's hiding behind a rock until there's another wagon that comes down the road. So she pops out all screaming and flipping out, it's telling them what had happened. And so this wagon has 2 Mexican drivers in it, and they say, well, okay, we'll get in our wagon and hide. So moments later, though, the Espinosas come back up on their horses, and according to reports, the 2 men demanded that the drivers tell them what ethnicity they were. When the drivers were like, hey man, we're Mexicans, we're like you, the Espinosas asked if they had seen a woman run by. Well, the drivers said that they hadn't. But as soon as they said that they hadn't, Dolores pops out and just starts pleading for all of their lives. What the shit, Dolores?
What the shit?
Fucking everything up.
So, she was then raped by the Espinosas,
Jesus.
and when they were done, they tied her up and promised to return to her to free her once they found her gringo companion. By then, though, Philbrook had traversed the mountainside and gotten to Fort Garland, where he tells Colonel Tappan of what's happening, and a patrol was sent out. Dolores was soon found. She was in pretty bad shape and hiding after freeing herself after the Espinosas had taken off. So, finally safe at Fort Garland, Dolores and Philbrook, they gave they just super detailed notes on this encounter with the Espinosas. It was the best description that anyone had ever gotten of Philippe, and the time had come to find this man for good, and Tappan knew exactly who to call to do it. That man's name is Thomas Tate Tobin.
Okay.
And that is where we will end this week's episode.
Oh,
Well, that was eventful.
that
Wasn't
was
it?
a little trip there, little bit of a ride.
Man, there's, you know what? And we experienced the highs and lows along with all of America waiting with baited things that you bait masterfully
Like squid.
to know what happened. What happened to the Espinosas? Who's this new man, Mr. Thomas Tobin Tate, or Tate Tobin? I closed my notes, so I can't remember. But I will say that next week, although it's going to be the conclusion, the end of the Bloody Espinosas, and I'm not giving anything away there. It's everybody that we spoke of tonight, if in this story at least, is dead because it's
Long
been,
dead.
It's been years. It's like when
At
I
least
was a
a
kid
few.
and I would watch like old movie musicals with my grandma because that's all she ever fucking watched. I would always think to myself, every single person in this movie is dead.
Yeah, I do that sometimes. Yeah, it's weird to think about sometimes.
Oh man, it's it's fun because the world is ours now, and at the same time, it's sad because, man, Judy Garland, she had a voice on her, did she?
Yep, and she was cute as
Uh-huh.
shit back in the day.
Yeah, before the throat cancer.
Mm-hmm. No,
Somewhere over the rainbow.
Julie Andrews.
Oh, that's not nice.
Julie Andrews was my bitch, though.
Hey man,
Excuse
she
me.
was your what?
Excuse me.
Chris?
I meant that in a good way, of course.
No. Wait, what'd you say? Bed show?
No, I said Julie
Yes,
Andrews
yes,
was
he
my
said-
bitch, though. Like, you know, like baby mama.
Oh, your bitch though.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey man,
oh,
you
hell
know,
yeah. Hell yeah.
I see that. I see Roll Dogs. I see Roll Dogs with Julie Andrew because not only can she yodel with the best of them, but she can also fuck up a Nazi's Jeep. And that makes her okay in my book.
Oh, shit. That wasn't supposed to happen. I apologize.
Oh shit, what?
Nothing.
What
My tablet started itself. I was watching the old. Actually, I pressed the button and never mind. It wasn't supposed to start. But I was watching the old animated X-Men series from the 90s, and it just decided to want to
Jesus, why?
start playing the theme song.
Such a
I mean,
bad
why?
show.
Because it's dope.
Yeah, that's a stupid show. Anyway,
You're a stupid shit.
guys, well, you know what? I might be a stupid show, but I'm still gonna thank both of you for being patient and loving, and sitting there and listening to me give you and our listeners another fucking man, we will so goddamn jab just crosses into your bullet hole in your forehead episode of See No, Hear No, Speak No.
Indeed. The UFOs, the conspiracies, the goddamn the murders. How, I really do think you have to pound on that with like a fucking mallet or something to get it to go through.
I was yeah.
For real.
I'm
That's-
thinking
that's some strength.
Through.
That is
like,
some
you know, like the-
motherfucking strength, dude.
the old videos and stuff of like carnies putting up circus tents. Like that's what I'm thinking.
Dude,
You know?
I mean, there's a
Yeah, with just like all four of them in a row in a circle.
Exactly.
there's a bunch
Yeah,
of shit
yeah,
from
yeah.
the movies I call bullshit on. That is definitely one of them. And I mean,
Yeah, if I saw like a dude in a movie just drive a stake all the way through someone, I'd be like, yeah, okay, yeah, fucking right.
well, dude, I mean, like, if you listen to
Oh,
any
man.
of the, or watch any of the interviews with, let's say, Kemper or somebody like that, they make mention of how you just think it's going to be a lot easier than it is. It's real work.
Yeah, and they're not talking like mentally
No.
difficult to run someone through with a knife. They mean like the physical force it takes to put even the sharpest and pointiest of blades into a
Yeah.
person is a great amount.
Yeah, it's no bullshit. It's like trying to stab a fucking Coke can. You're pressurized in there, for one. And, yeah, I mean, there are several reasons, but at the same time, yeah, you just, without knowing, without having any experience in stabbing a living creature, a decent sized living creature, there's no way for you to know how hard to stab. And then you hear a number like 32. Good God. After hearing all the other shit that they did to these bodies after killing them, 32 is quite a bit of work.
It's like an entire classroom of kids, basically.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Well, it's still far shy of the 600 that he promised us.
That's true. It's
Yeah,
far
really
shy.
disappointed there. Not a man of his word. Not a man of his word.
We're gonna glaze
No,
over
I mean-
the fact that James just mentioned a classroom full of children, but it couldn't have been a church full of retarded adults. No, it had to. He went straight to.
Listen,
That was a whole classroom.
I didn't go to a church full of retarded adults for 12 fucking years. I went to a school filled with 30
Oh
kids.
my
That's my frame of
God.
reference for a crowd.
full of
Okay.
brainwashed children. Okay,
It's more.
yeah.
That's more people than I currently know in
It
my
is.
life.
Me
So
too.
it would become a lonely
Yay,
empty world for
adulthood.
me. And on that note, I think the only thing that I can really add to it, other than thank you, baby Vera Clem, for being such a wonderful guest tonight. We can't wait to hear what you have to say next week about Mr. Tobin.
Indeed.
But is this, and I hope this is as poignant and moving for you two as it is in my head for me, and that is countdown. 3, 2, 1.
One.
And I'm James.
Any James.
Bye.
Bye.
Let it be.